Hello, hello, and welcome back to Alchemical Serenity, the pagan podcast that takes you on a journey through the woods, across the fields and moors, down to the beach, where we can sit around a campfire and talk about all things pagan, druidry, and witchy in a way that works for you on your path and your journey in this experience of being human. We're all inclusive and everyone is welcome. Now, my name is Carolyn and I've been treading this path for over 40 years, and I love sharing my experiences that might help someone trying to find their path. So if you all are already a subscriber, thanks for being here. But if you are new to the channel, then welcome. Please subscribe, give me a like at the end, and perhaps comment too. Grab yourself a comfy seat, your AirPods, your headphones, a cup of your favourite brew, sit back and listen in as I tell you all about today's plant, which is Sambuca Nigra, also known as elder, and its beautiful autumn berries. The elder is one of our oldest trees, and in ancient Greece it was used to treat many illnesses, and it has been said by more than one person over history in one way or another that the elder is a medicine chest to help the people. Elder is also known as black elder, common elder, pipe tree and boar tree, and in the 14th century it was called Hilda or Hillen tree. Anglo-Saxon name for it was Eldrum. It was called Hollander in Germany and Sureau in France. The word elder comes from the Anglo-Saxon word of keld. The name just mentioned of Eldrum eventually becomes Hilda and Hillen tree in the 14th century, and the name of pipe and boar trees comes about because the stems could be hollowed out and used for blowing up fire. The generic name of Sambuca occurs in the writing of Pliny. There are many examples of how elder has been used to treat a variety of medical problems, so here's just a few of them. So Hippocrates, for one, in 400 BCE, also by a German physician, Michael Edmüller, in the Middle Ages from Leipzig, regard it as the medicine chest of the people. Pliny the Elder, he said that the juice of the elder helps the entire brain and also soothes the meninx, which is what is wrapped around the brain and surrounds the brain and the spinal cord. The Romans used elderberry juice as a hair dye, and Culpeper tells us that the hair of the head washed in berries, boiled in wine, is made black. The Dutch botanist and chemist Herman Boerhaave was said to never pass the elder without raising his hat, and even Shakespeare in The Merry Wives of Windsor wrote a piece about the elder as well. In 1644, a whole book was written entirely devoted to the elder in Latin, giving many different medical virtues. And during the plague, the elder was used for protecting from it and for curing it. A little sponge with vinegar, apparently, of the elder was carried in a hollow globe of juniper wood to effectively strengthen the body's defences against the contagious disease every time it was smelt. Now, sprinkling hot bricks with elder vinegar would also cause a vapour, which was a disinfectant, so that the virus could not settle in the house or on any of their clothes. And a rob of elder was made very much as we make our elderberry syrups today. And a rob is kind of like a vegetable juice thickened by heat. It is also said that elder is one of the most written about plants, having so many uses, but having also thrived for well over 2,000 years across the globe. Now, one of the stories I found about the elder involved a stone circle on the border of Oxfordshire and Warwickshire on the edge of the Cotswolds, called the Rollright Stones. If you are on a pagan path, you probably have heard of them. Now, you can Google on a map to find the location if you want to, and they span nearly 2,000 years. They're believed to be from the early to late Neolithic. They are made from the natural Jurassic Oolitic limestone, which forms most of the Cotswolds Hills. And the oldest is the Whispering Knight's Dolmen, and that's early Neolithic, about 3,000 to 3,500 BCE. The King's Men Stone Circle is late Neolithic, so that's about 2,500 BCE, and the King's Stone is early to Middle Bronze Age, circa 1500 BCE. Now, the stones take their names from a legend about a Danish king and his army who were marching over the Cotswolds when they met an old woman who challenged the king by saying, "7 long strides thou shalt take, and if Long Compton thou can see, King of England thou shalt be." And so the king took the strides, and on his 7th stride a large green mound rose up, obscuring his view of Long Compton. Now the old woman was the elder spirit, who then said to him that he would not become the king of England, and decided to turn him into a stone, along with his men. The king became what is known as the King's Stone, which is slightly apart from the circle. It's actually across the road from where the main circle is, if you're looking on Google Earth. And the circle is said to be made from his loyal men and known as the King's Men. Then across the field, to the right, if you're looking at the stone circle, then there are some knights, and they are known as the Whispering Knights, who were plotting treason against him. And the legend says that the elder spirit then returned back to her tree form and is still on that site to this day. And there are actually quite a few elder bushes around the circle. The goddess of the elder tree is known as Hildemor, or Elder Mother, and as in Scandinavian folklore, but the elder is also associated with Freya, Queen of the Fae, and is believed that Hildemor inhabits the tree and her blessing should always be asked for before taking any part of the tree. So ways in which our ancestors used elder. Now, if worn, elder wards off attackers of every kind, and hung over the doorways and windows, it keeps evil from the house. It also has power to force someone to release any enchantment or spell they may have cast against you. The berries, when carried, protect against evil and negativity, and grown in the garden, elder protects the household against the ravages of sorcery and shields it from lightning. To bless a person, place or scatter the leaves and berries of the elder to the four winds in the name of the person or object to be blessed. Then scatter some more elder over the person or object itself, and it is done. To lose a fever, poke an elder stick into the ground whilst keeping completely silent. Toothache may be alleviated by chewing on an elder twig and then placing it into the wall while saying, "Depart, thou evil spirit." To prevent rheumatism, tie a twig of elder into 3 or 4 knots and carry in the pocket. Warts can be cured by rubbing them with a green elder twig and then burying it to rot in the garden. Not the wart, or where the wart is. I think it definitely means the elder twig. Grown near the home, the elder gives prosperity to the household, and the sticks placed around the house protected against robbers and snakes. Elder is used at weddings to bring good luck to the couple and to pregnant women who kiss the tree for good fortune for the coming baby. Place elderberries beneath your pillow if you're having difficulty sleeping, and they will allow you to slumber peacefully. Carrying elder. That's another one. Yeah, that can preserve you against the temptation to commit adultery, apparently. You can make flutes from the branches and call forth spirits with the music. Now, that's best done at midnight in a deserted place from the haunts of humans. Many think it's dangerous to burn elder wood, and some would strictly forbid it as firewood. So make your magic wands from the elder as well, as this has been done for centuries. And obviously for safety reasons, I would just like to say, apart from wand making, don't try any of those at home. So recognising growing and foraging. Firstly, before we go any further, raw, unripe berries and leaves contain toxic properties and should never be eaten raw. So don't wander down the path and find the berries and think, oh, I'll just have a taste of that, like you would do if you saw blackberries. They can cause nausea, vomiting and diarrhoea. Cooking kills the toxins, so when you're out foraging, just don't eat them. It's a lot safer not to, believe me. I haven't done it, but I trust the fact that came from the NHS website. Elder is a prolific grower in the hedges and springs up absolutely everywhere, and it's mostly seen in farmers' fields and many gardens and along the hedgerows. Growing in any type of ground, it doesn't really favour any type in particular. I've read, though, that in the US, the elder, which is more commonly known as Sambuca canadensis, grows in more damp ditches, floodplains and near streams, which just goes to show how different varieties adapt over the years. So if you're foraging for your own personal use in the UK, not a problem. But do seek out permission from any farmers if you wish to forage from their trees. Just because the berries are hanging over a fence line into a public road verges doesn't mean it's free to take. The tree is actually within a farmer's field, therefore it belongs to the farmer. so they're not free. Also, don't forget that in the UK, the wayside or edge of roads between a road and a field, for example, belongs to the highways and byways of your local council. You can forage for personal use, but not commercial. You cannot forage in the UK for profit. So if you have any ideas of foraging, thinking, oh great, I can make a load of tincture and sell it, you cannot. You can't do that commercially. You just think twice, because it's actually against the law. And just obviously grow your own for your family and for friends, and for obviously medicinal and safety reasons. If you wanted to make syrups and tinctures, then it is much safer to grow your own, or if you want to buy them, go to companies that actually grow their own, or they buy in their organic elderberries. But the energy of taking for commercial purposes is not a good one, especially from the elder. Elder leaves can be harvested in early summer and dried, and they can be used to make ointments for sprains. Flowers are primarily used for making elderflower cordial. Obviously in late summer and early spring we see the flowers on the trees, and obviously can make waters and infusions. And English elderberries are used for making wine, but the French and continental elder weren't used due to an unpleasant odour and flavour, apparently. Now, elderflowers and berries are one of the planet's largest and safest ways of working with plants. However, as I always say, consult a medical practitioner or a qualified herbalist, just in case there are some side effects. Now, elderberries are high in antioxidants, and research has suggested that a diet high in antioxidant-rich foods may help prevent chronic diseases by reducing the number of free radicals that damage cells in the body. They are high in vitamin C to help fight colds and flu, and 100 grams of elderberries offers between 6 milligram and 35 milligrams of immune-supporting vitamins, which could be more than half your recommended daily intake in one serving. And that's according to the shop Holland & Barrett. So further research also shows that elderberries have a higher source of antioxidants, and it's higher than blueberries, cranberries, goji berries and blackberries. We all need fibre in our diet to help food pass smoothly through the gut, and elderberries can also help with this. They may also be good for heart health and could lower cholesterol levels, which can reduce the risk of heart disease, and it reduces the amount of uric acid in your blood, which contributes to high blood pressures. Bioflavonoids and antioxidants, along with vitamin A, are great for the skin, helping to fight the free radical damages, which is primarily the source of early aging. And elderberry may also have diuretic effect, helping to eliminate excess water from your system. Now, ways to use elderberry. You can make a batch of syrup to use during the cold fighting season. You can use that same syrup on desserts. You could make elderberry wine, jams, chutneys and pickles, and take regular supplements from a reputable food store made from elderberries if you can't get them yourselves. Now, if you're wanting to make a syrup of elderberries, you can use bark, leaves, flowers and berries. They all have medicinal properties, but most people are obviously familiar with the flowers in spring and the berries in autumn. And in spring, a lovely elderflower cordial can be made, but to make your own syrup of elderberries, then this is a very simple recipe coming up, so pause and grab your pen if you want to write this down. You need 500 grams of elderberry, removed from the stalks as much as possible. Use a fork to get the berries off, because the stalks can be really bitter tasting with the toxins. 100 ml of water, 500 gram of white sugar. Now this has the most neutral flavour. You can use sort of like a sort of golden granulated sugar. That's not too bad if you want to. And also you'll need a cinnamon stick, 2 star anise, some juice and zest of an organic lemon, or slice up the lemon and drop it into the pan, a couple of cloves and some fresh ginger root, about maybe a tablespoon of organic dried root, or you could put fresh in if you wanted to. So put the berries and the spices and the water in a pan and bring to a simmer. Now, using a potato masher or similar, mush up as much of the juice from the elderberry as possible. You may need to add a little bit more water if it looks like it's going to get a bit dry. After 10 minutes, strain this mix through a sieve or and a muslin cloth, and then squeeze to get as much of the berries and the juice to pour out into the pan. And then you can put keep the juice back in the pan, and then add the sugar. Very gently heat and stir until the sugar has completely dissolved. Then pop into sterilised bottles and store in the fridge. If you want to change the sugar for honey, which many people do, and many recipes I looked for online all seem to use honey rather than sugar, then bear in mind that anything other than white sugar will change the taste. So if using honey, also please bear in mind that you can't give this to children under the age of 1. This is because honey has been known to contain something called Clostridium botulinum, which is obviously, as we probably know a bit better, is botulism, which is obviously harmful to babies. So if you wanted to give this to younger children, I would suggest make a family one. Just use 500 grams of, or how many ever grams of, depending on your batch, of white sugar. There are, however, lots of recipes online that you can use if you want to, rather than that one. That one is just one I've had floating around for many years, but it's completely up to you how you make them. If you're in the UK, you might want to use it with grams. If you're abroad, far further reaches, you might be wanting to use cups. So find yourself whatever you need to do to make that, and let me know how you get on. And if you do make it already, what recipe do you use? If you'd like to share your recipe, that would be fantastic. We'll all have a go at somebody else's recipe. Correspondences. Gender is feminine, planet Venus, element water, deities obviously Holder and Venus. Powers would be protecting, healing and prosperity. Ritual uses. They were used in burial sites in ancient Britain and long barrows, and sacred to the goddess figure due to the white flowers. Now witches and spirits were thought to live within the elder, and this is why it bled the red sap when cut. Now before felling an elder, you would need to also use the following words, and that would be, Lady Elhorn, give me of thy wood, and I will give thee of mine. And I think that was the fact that if you took something from the elder, when you died, they'd plant an elder tree. A lot of people planted elder trees on top of graves. I think that's where that has come from. Working with the energy of elder. So having got this far, we also need to look at working with the energy of the tree, not the energetics or the effect of the consumption or using the berries has on you. This is a lot deeper and more shamanic way of working with the plant, spending time to sit and work with the energy of the plant, especially one that is in your own garden, which is really beneficial. If you don't have a tree, then maybe perhaps grow one if you can, or perhaps find someone who's growing them, and you could buy a small sapling and bring that one on, so that you've got the plant from almost the seed to the berries. If you do have a plant, and you can spend time to connect with it, just sit nearby and perhaps go into a meditation state, letting your roots go down into the earth from your feet and connecting to the multiverse above from the crown of your head, and just letting in that universal energy just flow through you and protect you. And then you can project that gentle energy from you to the plant and wait for a response. Sometimes this can take a while. Be patient when establishing a connection, and then some trees may not even wish to work with you. You will know this or feel that if they don't. You will either receive absolutely nothing, or you may feel a little bit spiky. If you do get a gentle connection to work with that plant, in your mind, just ask to work with it. Ask what the plant can teach you and what you can teach the plant. And when first starting out, take your time. Don't get frustrated if you feel nothing. That's okay. Just try again another day or with another plant. Elder is one of the hardest to work with, but once you've established a connection, just sit and listen to any wise words that she may have for you. She may allow you to take a small cutting from her branch to use in your sacred space, but always ask first. And she will direct you to which branch she's going to allow you to take that cutting from. It won't be a whole big branch. It won't even be well, it might just be an inch, maybe 2 inches long, but she will direct you to where you need to be. When you come to harvesting, at the point you ask to take some of her berries, tell her what they're for. If she's got berries growing for you, tell her what they're for. She may be willing to guide you to which berries or she may just shut down. Sometimes this happens, but just be guided by the elder who knows what's best. And as I've said before, don't go railroading in and just cutting her branches and berries off unless you wish to suffer the consequences, which could be short or long term. Well, hopefully that has given you an insight into the uses of the elder on different levels. However, in conclusion, I have to say this tree is not the tree to upset. Arrogance and entitlement play no part in any spiritual work, but especially working with this tree. She is not forgiving if treated incorrectly, and if you wish to learn to work with her, then just take your time. Don't go storming over to her wonderful berries in autumn or flowers in the spring and just take them. Speak to her in your mind, connect with her energies, and ask if you can have some of her produce. And this is for every single elderberry tree. One ask does not work for all trees. They don't go to communicate and go, yep, she's okay, you can let that one in. Each tree has a different energy to work with. Ask what she'd like in return. You can't just take the plant and not give anything back. It might just be feeding the birds in your garden. It might just be perhaps planting some different plants around her. She might like to have something working with her. She might ask you to do something for the fae. Don't forget that the elder is one of the biggest trees to connect with the fae. This energy that we use is where we humans slip up. We just take and we believe that we are entitled to do this. And because over the years we have also forgotten how to work with plants and the trees because commercial medicine and mass farming took over, so we have lost that connection with the earth and with all plants, herbs, etc. So that just about sums up my podcast on the fabulous elderberry and what you can do with it now in the more modern world with that little bit of folklore and history. So please let me know in the comments below if you do use it and what for. It's great to read, and obviously I do reply to everybody. And you may also be helping somebody new, or it might be somebody just listening in who's never made anything before and is interested, and it just gives them that little bit more encouragement and a little bit more sort of positive help on how they can work with nature and Mother Earth. So thank you for listening in. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe. Come and find me on Instagram, Facebook. Links will be below in the comments. And I suppose lastly, I know there's lots more on elderberry that I could have waffled on about, but I don't like to push these podcasts too far. Otherwise, let's be fair, even I nod off listening to my own voice when I'm editing. So I try and keep this as simple as possible. It just helps to start your path, or like I've said, you might be already working with elderberry or a different herb, depending. There's lots of other herbs that I've written about. There's also, if you're listening in for the first time, come and subscribe to my channel, because we cover the Wheel of the Year, and the different festivals, and we try and cover different herbs and different plants to work with, and we will be moving into more deeper connection as we sort of progress into the darker times from Samhain in October. So that would be quite interesting if you are treading this path. So I look forward to chatting with you again very, very, very soon, and with much love and light from me, from my grove to yours. Bye for now.